Hi, I'm Jeannine Shao Collins, Chief Client Officer at Kargo. Kargo is an ad tech platform where we put the art in ad tech, and we're all about innovation and creative science. And I am talking to one of the most amazing, I'm totally a fangirl, marketers and innovators in the business, Tim Ellis. And Tim, I mean, you know from just talking here for 10 minutes or so that I am totally in awe of what you've done in your career. And I think it was about a year ago that I was at an award show where the NFL was giving you an award, and you actually brought me to tears. You brought me to tears because what you're doing is so extraordinary. And I love the fact when you look at your LinkedIn, you talk about future-proofing the NFL. So tell me about your journey, and I have a list of all the awards that you've won, including Marketer of the Year. Tell me a little bit about how you got here.
Well, you know, every job I've had, I had a real passion for the product or the service before I went there. So, I mean, I grew up being a football fan as a kid. I played the game, and I'd had some, incredible experiences working for some iconic brands around the world, but I'd never been in sports. And so when I got the opportunity to come to the NFL, I mean, I was so friggin' excited just coming in the door. And it's like I knew exactly what I wanted to do, the day I got there. So, I think for me, it was like, how can I ensure that the sport lives on? And how can I bring in more people to sort of enjoy it and engage with it and not think of what made it successful necessarily, but what could it be, right? Like what could it really be? And I also felt like while they had a very good distribution of fans, what men and women and like throughout the blue states and red states, very evenly distributed, more than any other sports league, there was still a real opportunity to have a more powerful message of inclusion, right? And to bring in more females, not just casual viewers, but to have them be more avid. We separate fans from, casual to avid. And I knew that if we just worked harder, we could bring in more female fans, have them be more enthusiastic, more avid fans. And then also we were under indexing, for example, with Latinos, huge opportunity to bring in that segment. And then just the younger generations, because the NFL had begun, like every other major entertainment, entity, they had begun to lose that younger segment year after year after year. And so for me, it was important to humanize the brand, to sort of work with the players, to make the players the face of the league, and to really get behind the things that the players really cared about, right? And to sort of work with them as partners, not as a transaction, but work with them as partners, and to really listen and to find the things that they really cared about, not just on the field, but off the field as well, and to begin to sort of build the brand around the players, right?
I love that.
And to focus on things that would be relatable to younger generations and, of course, our older generations as well.
I love it. And football is everyone, right?
Yes.
And
football is for everyone.
It is for everyone. Yeah. And I have to, as I said, I could get teary just thinking about some of this and the ads and the spots that you've done, and and I really have followed what you've done to bring along the younger generation, particularly young women, with your support of flag football. Can you tell a little bit about the spot? Actually, let's talk about that spot that brought me to tears with that amazing family.
Carl Nassib was the first active player to come out as gay, and we knew when it happened that it was a very important moment, right?
Totally.
And we wanted to properly celebrate that moment. And we wanted to, because it just happened, right? It was news at the time. And so we wanted to do not just something that only a handful of people would see, but to be able to put it on our biggest channels. So we wanted to do a TV commercial that we could put on linear TV, we could put on digital, and we could spread it throughout our owned and operated channels. And so we quickly put together a very bold piece of creative that was all type with sound and sound design. But the first line of it was "Football is gay," right? And then it began to talk, football's for lesbians, football's is for trans, and football is for, and it began to sort of talk about all the people and the types of people, and football's for everyone. It ended up in football's for everyone. And when I got the piece of creative, of course, it scared the bejesus out of
that's a risk taker.
Yes,
I mean, that's incredible.
It scared the hell out of a lot of people inside the building. And listen, I love my team. I have an incredible relationship with my team. But even there were members of my team that said, "Tim, are you sure? Are you sure you want to go out?
I can't imagine
to go out with
that
an ad
photo. I love
that the first line is football is gay." And I'm like, you cannot bury that line. If you bury that line, you take the heart out of the whole message, right?
Yeah.
So, and I knew that a lot of people wouldn't like it. I knew that it would really touch people, and that it would really be a very powerful, very meaningful message to the LGBTQ plus community, and it was, right?
100%.
But I felt like, no, we're going to do this in its purest form, and we're going to put it on our biggest channels, and we're going to run it. We're going to run it, and we're going to run it. And we got an incredibly wonderful response from not only that community, but also our younger fans and our female fans in particular. Two very important segments for us to grow. And to be honest, the folks who didn't like it, that's okay. I thought that's okay. If it makes them uncomfortable, then we'll keep running it. And the more we run it, the less,
uncomfortable they'll be.
Yeah, the less uncomfortable. They'll be more comfortable with it, right? We'll normalize it. And I think that, believing that football is truly for everyone, and not sort of moving away from, or not, being nervous or afraid of just being open and honest and powerful, to me was why I came to the NFL.
Amazing. And you said you're humanizing it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I love the line, football is for everyone, because it should be, it's the number one passion for so many people.
Yeah.
And everyone should be able to participate. Now, so tell me, look, you talked about a sector that's really important to me, and that's women, right?
Yeah.
And women as fans. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing for the next generation, which we talked about a little bit before, but I think that's so smart.
Yeah. So I think, listen, a lot of the way that we approach our communications toward women, some of it has to do with tone, some of it has to do with messaging, and then some of it, of course, has to do with distribution of where you show up, right?
Right.
And so, for example, platforms like TikTok, right, are very important for us because there's a very high female population on TikTok. And doing the kind of content on TikTok is not like running normal, highlight footage of football. It's more intimate, more personalized, more fun content, which just feels more authentically human, right? And so we also are, this whole helmet off strategy of having a more human approach, we've seen is also very appealing to our female fans, right? We did a big campaign around mental health and wellness,
right, which I
as an
love.
example.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, one of our most powerful. In fact, if you look at our research, it was, I think, rated the highest of any advertising that we had done. And it had these very, stoic, powerful NFL players talking in a very vulnerable way about, what it's like to be challenged with anxiety and depression. And that was a very touching, powerful portrayal of the NFL that no one had ever seen before, right? So, in our female fans, and our female fans were very taken by that approach. And then, the best way to ensure that somebody becomes a fan is by playing the game, right? Like if you want to get somebody to be a fan and a lifelong fan, then they need to play the game, or at least that's a good strategy to get them to be a lifelong fan. And so, there were very few women who were playing tackle football. And the few that we had, actually, I put into our commercials. So, we found a way to put female tackle football players in our commercials with our pro football men players. But we also pivoted towards flag football for youth participation, because we knew that was a much more inclusive way to bring in women and men to enjoy and play the game. And then I work with all 32 teams to put together programs which got the sport into high schools across the country.
Amazing.
Right. So now what you're seeing is state after state now is now with our support and help is now putting football into high school programs for flag football for young women, and they're playing in bigger numbers than ever before. So, suddenly football is not just a guy's thing.
Oh, well, I have a friend whose daughter is competing on the international level, went down to ESPN and did the whole thing. Yeah. And she's a badass. I'm going to watch this girl. She's the quarterback.
A lot of them are.
And she loves it. And it's done amazing things for her confidence. Yeah. And she can do anything. I think I was sharing with you a stat that 96% of all female C-suite women played a sport.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot to be able to get them to participate in what's the most popular sport in our country.
And it is important. I think. Listen, we don't ever see screens or gaming or any of that sort of stuff as like the enemy. We have to embrace that, right?
Right.
You're never going to change young people from wanting to be with their screens and wanting to engage in digital platforms, and that's okay. What you're trying to do is get into to balance and give you some time, right, to sort of spend time with you as well, or with, in our case, with our sport. And so whether that's watching the game on their phone or together with their family, in front of a TV, or going to a game or playing the game, it doesn't matter as long as they're somehow engaging. So you have to find the right way to sort of appeal and engage to these audiences and not try to force them all to do it the way that you want them to do it.
I love that. Yeah. Well, you're truly taking a human and holistic approach to marketing this, and it's obviously working. Yeah. Can you tell me, talk a little bit about your background, and when you came here, you hadn't, I know you have a long history in automotive, you've worked around the world. Can you tell me a little bit about, your journey as a marketer and, how all your experience prepared you to bring all of this to the NFL? And we talked about it 5 years ago. The NFL was in a very different place than it is now.
Yeah, I did not take the normal path to where I am today. I actually, believe it or not, I started at a high school in the theater.
Really?
I was a stage actor.
You're kidding.
And I was a professional stage actor for a few years and studied as an actor, and then decided to travel the world. And I traveled doing odd jobs all over the world for 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, I worked as an oil rig hand and worked on cruise ships. I taught English. I drove tractors in the Middle East.
You drove tractors in the Middle East?
Yes, I was an actor in Tokyo. I did a lot of things, and I sort of exposed myself to lots of different things. And I think there's nothing more important today to be a successful marketer than curiosity, and to sort of open your mind and to look at things, to listen, to look at things in a different way, and sort of be, to sort of open yourself up to things maybe that weren't apparent or right in front of your face. So I feel like a lot of the things that I've done, so when I started my more formal part of my marketing and advertising career, I started out in California with Goodby Silverstein and Partners, which, an incredible agency.
Incredible.
Very
known for their creative.
I was there during the 90s when they were doing all the Got Milk stuff and all that.
Right.
They were just on fire. And so it was an incredibly inspiring place to be. It showed me the power of creativity and together with human insight, where that could be. I then decided to go back overseas again and spent 12 years based out of Sweden doing international work.
Wow.
And finding ways to do very creative campaigns and creative marketing programs to like sometimes 30, 40 countries at a time, which is not easy to do.
Right. It doesn't sound easy at all.
Most of that international work is very like vanilla. It's like it's not very creative. And so I wanted to do highly creative advertising to multiple cultures and languages. And in order to do that, you have to identify things that are truly universal, things that like connect us all. And I really believe that a lot of the work we do today at the NFL, it's all about uniting people.
Oh, totally.
It's about the things that will connect people. And it's because we're such a divided country right now.
Oh.
Like this whole us versus them thing is so pervasive and, powerful as a force that you have to, we we feel like we're a uniter at the NFL.
Oh,
And
100%.
that we have a platform that is highly influential, and I kind of feel like it's a massive responsibility. And so that's why I take these things very seriously, right? Like on the one hand, we entertain people, like that's our job. But we also work as a force for good to unite people, and
100%.
to work with communities and to work with our players to sort of do some good out there and to actually contribute to the health of the society and to communities. So I was in the automotive industry. I learned a lot because a lot of the lessons, with dealers and with the manufacturer,
Okay.
I have applied to the NFL and to the 32
interesting.
teams.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you have a national, local sensibility to approach to marketing.
Well, because you can do a lot on your own, but you can do a lot more if you work with your ecosystem and you bring people together and you truly collaborate as a more powerful, connected force. So a lot of the things that we are doing at the NFL, I've worked really hard together with the 32 teams to sort of get them on board, because we call it the power of 33. If we do it all together, it's so much bigger.
That's
right?
great.
And so much more powerful. So I think a lot of the success that we have done right now with the NFL is because we're such a cohesive force between the league and the 32 teams. And at least in the marketing side of stuff, of the programs, a lot of the lessons I learned in the automotive industry, I've applied to the National Football League and the 32 teams.
That's great. And unity. There's it's like 1 + 1 = 1,000, right? So
which doesn't mean that everybody has to be the same.
No,
mind
totally.
you, because all 32 of these teams are brands in their own right. They're like Dallas Cowboys versus the 49ers.
I just came from Dallas.
Versus the Eagles versus the Giants.
Yeah.
They're all very strong, distinctive brands, but they're still really strong sort of connective tissue, which is a part of what we are as professional NFL football. And by believing in certain values and really focusing on things that we know will drive our business forward, we've become so much more powerful because of that unity and because of that collaborative approach.
Well, more powerful. Let's talk about powerful. The ratings for NFL are unbelievable.
Pretty good right now.
Yeah. So talk about, because it's working.
Yeah.
And it is bringing families together. I know that on Sundays, my entire family, we were devastated by the Giants game, but that's the first one of the season, but that comes with the territory. But tell them about uniting people and also the ratings and how that's all translating. Are you pinching yourself? It's so good.
Well, I am pinching myself because things are going very well right now. I think we've made some important decisions that have paid off. Really leaning in and forming partnerships with YouTube and YouTube TV, with Amazon, has really helped us sort of reach out to younger audiences, right, and to connect with younger audiences. Right. And we've proved that you can move from a sort of cable linear world into digital channels and actually not lose volume. If anything, 100%. We picked up, right? Let's turn this off.
Just pick up from the top of that answer.
Yeah. So we've learned that we can, what we call, get TV-like audiences on digital platforms, which is pretty incredible, right? And I think that choosing the right partners and working with them in a way to where, a win-win situation, because of course having the power of the NFL for our partners is also obviously very valuable.
Oh, totally.
Right? So, but I think by expanding our reach, not just in linear TV, but to these strong digital platforms, is allowed us to sort of reach newer and younger audiences.
We're a subscriber at YouTube TV.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. And then also all the things that we have been doing with our youth strategy. So I talked about when I first joined the NFL about humanizing the league. Well, the other thing that was very important as a fundamental shift in strategy was to focus everything on younger audiences. And so when we talk about future-proofing the NFL, that's literally what we're talking about. It's ensuring that younger people stay with the NFL and be the future of the NFL. And so you have to talk differently, you have to engage differently with these younger audiences than you do obviously with your older segments. And so by being in the right places where they are, where they live, and by allowing yourself to sort of give over the control of your content to your audience and to your creators and to your influencers, right? So it's not like a traditional marketing platform, but you allow yourself to sort of connect with these younger audiences with things that they care about, right? And again, working with players who, let's not forget, are also young.
Yeah.
Right? So music and fashion and gaming.
Well, you're
fitness,
influencing every sector.
These are all things that younger people really care about. And so by working with creators who are strong in these segments, who are authentic fans themselves in their own right of NFL, has allowed us to build these younger audiences, right? Is to build fandom in these younger audiences. And so, and then listen, the game's been great. I think you can agree with that. And there's a lot of people very smarter than I am at the NFL who are making lots of changes that are ensuring that the games stay tight, that the margin of victory is small,
so
that it's like this sort of incredible, dramatic games every single week.
Oh, incredible.
That doesn't hurt either.
I
right?
know. Well, I mean, yes, the experience of watching it week to week has been really fun. I mean, Tim, you are brilliant. What advice would you give people, in marketing? Like if you were to summarize what makes a marketer successful in like a sentence, what advice would you give?
Well, I talked to you about the importance of curiosity, and I really do believe that's important because what's baked within that is a level of openness and a drive to constantly learn and to evolve and to be, sort of quickly adapt, right? Into lead, right? I also think vulnerability is really important. I do. I think
and that's what you've really brought to the market.
I think that vulnerability has all kinds of opportunities as for like modern brands today. It allows you to be more human and more authentic and to be more relatable, right? It also like tells you that you don't know everything, and the brands have to be also honest and transparent, right? You have to be willing to sort of say, hey, we made some mistakes and we've learned from that and we're going to be better in the future. And I think big brands need to, understand that that's okay. It can actually strengthen you and make you more credible, make you more appealing, and allow you to do things that you couldn't do before. So I think that, there's no doubt that the NFL, as successful as it has been, there's been some rough waters over the years, and we've made some mistakes. And I think admitting that we had made some mistakes and learning from that and being open and humble about that, and then having a very sort of strong, passionate drive forward, right, has just brought people with us. And so I think vulnerability is very important for marketers to understand today. Obviously, we've talked a lot about connectivity and the willingness to sort of constantly look for new ways to connect with your audience and understanding them. People talk a lot about the importance of data and insights. Well, for me, data and insights is all about intimacy.
Oh.
Right? At the end of the day, it's not worth anything if it doesn't bring you closer to your audience. If you think about it, there's all kinds of choices with data and technology, right? And any CMO gets 20 calls a day on the newest technology that a vendor wants to offer them up and so forth. And I think that what's most important is that you leverage technology and you leverage data in order to create a closer bond with your audience, in our case, our fans, right? And to have more intimacy. It's really, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And to really, truly understand their experiences, right? Like all of their experiences that they may have with your brand. I mean, if you think about football, right? My business, there's watching the game, like whether it be on a phone or a tablet or the television, going to the game, the experiences that you have there and so forth, buying tickets, parking, all that stuff as part of their holistic experience with your brand. And understanding that journey and truly understanding the moments that matter within that journey can help you really create a powerful bond with which is value driven, right? A bond with your audience, with your fans, which is really value driven. And so, we've done a lot of things in terms of like gathering the right data and being able to connect with our fans in more intimate ways over the last several years. And that's a really powerful part of our program. But it all goes back to where we started with this conversation. So there's the humanization of the brand, the human bonds that we're creating amongst our players, amongst our league, and then with our fans. That's really, for me, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Well, Tim, you are an inspiration. I feel like I've learned a ton. I'm going to try to stay human, vulnerable, and in order to get more intimate with my consumers. You're really an inspiration, Tim. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.